Thanks, everybody. I have the privilege and pleasure of making this special announcement to reveal the recipient of our 7th annual I3A Achievement Award. As Chad mentioned, this award is given to an individual, an outstanding individual, someone who has been nominated by other people in the I3A community and then selected by a committee of judges. The purpose of the award is to recognize, encourage, and celebrate that person's contribution to the advancement of the imaging industry through their involvement with I3A. So this year, the I3A Achievement Award is being awarded to Jonathan Phillips of Eastman Kodak Company. Jonathan's been a very valuable participant in I3A activities for many years. He's a senior scientist and leader of Kodak's worldwide image quality team. He's been involved in the very beginning on the I3A camera phone image quality initiative, which is working to create a consumer-facing rating system for camera phone image quality that will provide meaningful information to both the supply chain and to consumers alike. He brings a unique set of talents to this initiative, and we've been very, very fortunate to have his participation. And I really don't think that we would be where we are without his work. He's been with Kodak since 1992 and has been primarily specializing in the optimization of consumer digital photography. Earlier this year, Jonathan took the initiative to undertake a project to conduct validation testing using the CPIQ metrics on an actual set of the best available camera phones on the market at that time. We've not done any actual full tests of the published CPIQ specs and the ones that we're still working on up until that point. So he put them through the entire process, beginning with the objective testing, the subjective correlations, and then the rating system algorithm. The results completely validate CPIQ's proposed methods to extrapolate perceived image quality based on objective results, subjective correlations, and then the rating system. He performed the tests on 10 currently shipping or nearly shipping handset units. And I'm going to get off the stage so that you can see the results of that test. So he's going to share some of that work with you this morning. And demonstrate that scientifically and practically the megapixel is an extremely poor measure for image quality, particularly for camera phones. So I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to publicly acknowledge the important role that Jonathan has played in the development of CPIQ, especially his work on the rating system, and his dedication and efforts have paved the way for publication of the first standardized psychophysical-based image evaluation system. So thank you, Jonathan. Please come up and...
It is really quite an honor to get this award, and it certainly has been an effort of many participants on the camera phone image quality effort. And I would like to go through some of the detail of the methodology. The right button. Okay, great. Thank you. I don't know if, for those of you who have talked with Lisa Walker out in the atrium, you'll see the diagram here of the rating scale and on the bottom of the slide. And it is, for this case, it's a hypothetical camera phone and has an overall star rating system, and this one has 2.5 star. And in the matrix to the lower left, you'll see an indication of how the camera phone does operate in different use cases. So the columns are showing the cases of starting on the left with the mobile phone display itself on the camera phone, going through to more rigorous applications up to enlargement of the image. And so for this particular hypothetical camera, you'll see that it performs well, very well on the handset display. But then as you continue on to the more rigorous applications, it does not perform well on the large enlargements. And so the challenge has been, from a technical side, how do we support that? How do we achieve that? And how can we do something that's relevant to the consumer's perspective? So our approach has been essentially a fourfold approach, but the most unique part of this methodology and this model has been bringing in the psychophysical or subjective testing. So we take the objective components such as sharpness, noise, edge, sharpness, and texture, to name a few, and then correlate those directly to how the consumer would see those impacting overall image quality. And we do that with a metric called a just noticeable difference, or JND, so that therefore the 5-star rating that we have come up with is very relevant to what a consumer sees in the photographs. So I do want to define a few things and talk about the theory before I show you the results of the 10 camera phone that we have tested. So just to go a little more in detail, a JND, or just noticeable difference, is based on statistics. And so when you test a population of people and ask them about differences that they can detect, a just noticeable difference is when 50% of the observers there we go. 50% of your observers perceive the change repeatedly, whereas 50% are guessing. So this is a metric of just noticeable difference, or JND. And you could think about an example being, what is the smallest distance that observers could make if you have two lines and they're slowly converging until they become one? What is that smallest distance? And when 50% can see it and 50% are guessing, that would be the JND. So believe it or not, there is a standard ISO method that's related to JNDs of quality for photographs. And so when you get scientists and engineers in a room together, they come up with a method. And this actually even has a physical ruler that is part of this. So what we've done is pull together a set of images that are separated by approximately 1 JND. In sharpness, and then that ruler can be used to rate images coming off of a cell phone. And so it's a repeatable and also rigorous means of obtaining perceived quality. So an implementation of this is to make it onto a computer monitor. And so we have been doing our testing on an Apple Cinema Display monitor with a fixed viewing distance. And there's a screen capture of what is seen. So the observer will see an image spot on the left that can be toggled through on the quality ruler and the spacings. And then the image on the right is what is being judged. So as the observer does this, they can pick which of the quality ruler image is the appropriate one to match the quality of the test image we're looking at. So the reason I have labeled this as a multivariate analysis approach to the scale is because of the mathematics that we're using for this. And one of the unique things of doing JND testing is that then when we look at individual attributes such as the sharpness, noise, and color, and get those into a JND format, those can be added together to predict an overall quality of a camera phone. So this is the multivariate analysis step where you're adding. So it's a summation of those individual components that then can make the overall quality prediction. And one final element of the background on this is this chart and the information that it contains. The challenge that came to us was to come up with a 5-star rating. And thankfully, we have some reference material that fits well into a 5-star rating plus a 0. And what we have here, and I apologize that the text is small, but it's category boundaries that relate to just noticeable differences of quality from the standard quality scale ruler. And it's a breakdown of what consumers believe are excellent, very good, good, fair, poor, and not worth keeping, directly related to the ISO method ruler. And one of the interesting aspects in this plot shows that there can be migration of those category scaling as expectations change, as applications change, as what people have been made aware of change in terms of quality. But certainly you can use the quality ruler and associated category scaling to have relevant information regarding what the quality of the camera phone should be. So with that for background, I'm sorry, there's one additional slide. So what we've done then is made the association between the rating, the 5-star rating on the far right, and the category on the far left, and then within the ruler itself that is being used, how that can all be placed into the consumer rating scale. So as Lisa had mentioned before, we did do a testing of 10 camera phones, and at the time they were submitted to me and the team at Kodak, we were informed that these were the highest performing cameras. So there is an anonymity aspect to this in terms of the actual models, but you can see there's a variety of manufacturers here that we tested, a variety of models from these manufacturers. We also tested a range of megapixels from 3 to 12 in the set that we were looking at. And there are 5 of our CPIQ objective metrics that have been completed up at this point, and those include color uniformity, which is really from center to edge of if you were to take a gray target, where does that coloration show in? Edge acutance, which is a sharpness metric. Texture acutance, which is actually a really important element to digital capture right now, and it's related to your what was seen in skin, the texture seen in skin, in clothing, in foliage, because noise cleaning algorithms are actually really degrading texture in the image, though they're leaving the edges sharp. And the 4th and 5th metrics are related to the aberration and the geometric distortion. So in fact, these are not all of the metrics that are important. There are still ones that are being worked on, but these are the ones available. And our simulation was looking at the use case of 4:6 application of print, and the targets we took were under daylight simulation. So to quickly go through the process, one photographs the target, an objective target, then calculate the objective metric value for that target, such as sharpness or texture. Then you obtain the predicted overall quality in JNDs, the standard quality scale JNDs from the ISO method ruler. We repeat that for each metric. Then we do the multivariate analysis, which is the summation of the JNDs, and finally assign the 5-star rating. This is an example of the texture target, and I don't know if everyone can see the differences, but this is from what had the most texture to what had the least texture in our study. And so this is what we came up with. And the camera manufacturers have been randomized. There's no specific order here according to manufacturer. But what you can see here is the degradation. So in this plot, at the top, the 0 means that it's a perfect image. And then as it goes to the more negative, it's lower in quality. So and I have the breakdown here of the different elements. Actually, texture was an important aspect in differentiating the cameras. So now if we add those 5-star ratings to the data set, we can see that we have cameras that go from 5-star down to 1-star. And there is anonymity in this study, but I do want to point out that the 1-star rating for that particular camera phone, the sensor is not a 3-megapixel sensor. It's actually an 8-megapixel sensor. And as we've discussed here this morning and has come up, that megapixel is may not your most optimal means. So these are some images. These are examples from the 5-star cameras. This is a 4-star, and I'm not sure how well it comes through through the whole system here. But as you go to the lower star, you do see additional artifacts or things come in. And I do have a disclaimer over this last, which is the 1 star, because it was not included in the formal photo shoot of the previous images, but it still can give you an idea of where this 1 star camera would fall. So we were able to use the properties of subjective testing or rigorous psychophysics in order to come up with this correlation between objective metrics and subjective. And we provided this rating scale, and there will be further work for additional metrics and then applied to use cases beyond the 4x6 print as well. And many thanks to contributors to this effort, because I am receiving the award, but there are many other people that are part of this effort. So thank you again, Lisa.